Hello, welcome to Emotional Badass, where Moxie meets Mindful. I'm Nikki Eisenhower, your host, life coach, and psychotherapist. And on today's episode, I'm discussing intuition and overthinking. I felt a strong calling to do this episode. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but here it is. Once I understood the difference between intuition and anxiety, I was left with a whole lot of reflection, regret, and puzzlement about how I had utterly denied myself my own truth, swapped it to make the most comfortable decisions for everyone else that was around me while I was wildly uncomfortable. The two biggest examples of this in my life were the first two times men proposed to me. Now, if you follow the show, you might know that Chris and I married each other 3 weeks ago. And my younger self was certainly doing the best she could, the best she knew how to do. And I was listening to many, many people who surrounded me during both of those times in my life about giving me relationship advice and human advice, life advice, but from people who had relationships that I didn't want relationships the way that they had relationships, and they weren't wired like me and had very different desires and dreams than I did. Want to know how funny the universe can be, y'all? Both my ex-husbands asked me to marry them on the same day, on Christmas Eve. Now, looking back, I see this version of myself where in those moments, both times, my stomach nearly dropped out of my body. The first time, it was in front of a huge room of people, a holiday party. And I said yes, even though every fiber of my being was screaming that this is wrong, this is not for you. But I felt in too deep. And at the time, I both thought it was too deep to turn back because he had a child. And I loved her, and I still love her to this day. And I didn't think that I had the strength to just walk away. So I walked away 16 months after marrying him, having been together for 7 years. And the second time a man proposed to me, I nearly passed out because the thought that was going through my head was, how can he have asked me on this day? He doesn't even know me, and this is the universe telling me that this is wrong. But by that time in my life, I had already left my family of origin, and I had left one in-lawed family that I had loved very much and spent a whole lot of my time with. I even worked with them in the restaurants that they owned. I had walked away from so many people that I told myself a story that I needed to settle, that this was as good as it could get, that I couldn't speak or utter words for hours when he asked me. And he knew in that moment. It was so awkward. But we pushed through. For me to have said no would have meant to me at the time that I would have ruined his family's Christmas day. There's a big lesson in that, y'all. That codependency, not wanting other people to be disappointed, to be uncomfortable, being so scared of dealing with being blamed and shamed, scared to invite the grief of losing more people, scared that I wouldn't be strong enough to handle any of it. That shit will have you marrying people to avoid that discomfort. Isn't that wild? So here is my message for you today. A message that has led me to sanity, led me to myself. Because we need more than understanding the difference between intuition and anxiety. We also must work to end the overthinking and confusion that we bring on ourselves. In this way, we self-sabotage. We exhaust ourselves so we don't have the energy to act in our own best interest. We think our external circumstances are exhausting us. We think the energy vampires that surround us are exhausting us. But if we really step into ownership, Overthinking, staying in confusion, it's the ultimate way to keep ourselves from rocking the boat when we know deep down that this boat needs to flip over and that we can swim. So here you go. Intuition. I know that you know what you want and what you need. Let go of the wondering and admit to yourself that you just aren't ready to act in accordance with what you know. Take a deep breath. Sometimes we have to tell the fearful, doubtful parts to fuck off until we're ready to take action. And I know that when the time is right, you will take action. What would happen if you trusted yourself to figure it out and took a break from overwhelm, from confusion, from doubt, from fear, from pressure? We don't fix in air quotes, our circumstances, our patterns. We don't climb out of a deep hole in any single given day. And we can drop that figure it out pressure to take a break, to breathe, to live. And that helps us get to clarity. It helps us rest so we have the energy for the action phase that is inevitable when our intuition is telling us, oh, hell no. Look back on your life and see your strength. Strength for getting through it all. You'll figure this out too, whatever it is. To have Chris ask me to marry him, and in July, while we were hiking, something that we've spent countless hours doing together, to feel him ask me and feel the yes in every fiber of my being. To know it like I know my first name, that this relationship is aligned for both of us. That this man fits my out-of-the-boxness. This is a proving to my inner child that adult me knows herself. That adult me listens. Adult me acts in my own best interest. And she can trust me to take care of her now. And that is the peace. That is self-love. That is the security that my family of origin could not have provided me. Those actions, those hundreds and thousands of little listenings that I've done over the years, learning to pay attention to my depth, to my intuition, over the floaty story-making anxiety that impedes and overrides that intuition until we know better. Learning to act from that place versus going in my head and talking myself in circles, it has grown me and my life in ways I was scared to allow myself to hope for. And this is not unique to me, though I'm sharing my unique story. My work as a counselor and coach, having worked with thousands of people since the beginning of my career in 2006, has shown me that it works the same way for all of us. It's a shame that society continues to dismiss the power of our intuition, because this means that if you're my age, if you're not a little kid being raised by awakened parents right now, it's highly likely that most of us were raised by people who were not awakened themselves, who had no idea the difference between intuition and anxiety, who didn't know how to listen to their guts. And that robs all of us of a permission as we're developing to listen while we're younger and know ourselves all along the way, even as we fumble and make mistakes in our youth. But we really can heal. We can heal this in the present moment. We can become, capital become, we can become our true self by listening to our true self and learning to act from that place of knowing. This is healing. I hope today's episode helps you listen, really, truly, and deeply listen, because you know, and helps you shut down the overwhelm and the confusion so that you can nurture and grow as the universe is holding space for you to do so. Those of you who feel like you don't fit into a box, you don't. And that's okay. I'm outside the box. Chris is outside the box. It's where some of us live. And if you feel called to live there too, there's space for you. I want to thank our Patreon producers of the show. You guys, we are so close to our third goal. I'm recording this episode a few days before our third anniversary. We have been doing the show for 3 full years. I can't believe it. We have not missed 1 week. We also do a bonus episode every single month on our Patreon and have since very early on in the show. If we have 8 more patrons join, we will hit a goal that we've been trying to hit for a year and a half. So I want to thank Jessica. I want to thank Shannon. I want to thank Micah for coming and being part of our Patreon. I want to thank Jamie for participating in our Patreon. I want to thank Emily, Melissa, and Elephant of My Heart. Thank y'all so much for showing up to support us, supporting you, supporting other people. As always, 10%, a full 10% of our Patreon gets paid forward. So in the next few months, I'll pick another recipient of our Pay It Forward. I am so grateful from the bottom of my heart for how y'all have showed up. Y'all have marketed the show. Y'all have shared it with so many people since day one. Every single day, me and this team, we get messages of people who are figuring out that they're highly sensitive, that they're empaths, or that in their survivorship that they can heal beyond what they have allowed themselves to believe. I know I can get a little corny sometimes, but it's because I feel it so purely from my heart. I've known it for a very long time in my career, doing one-on-one and group work, that healing is so exponential. When you show up to do the healing for yourself with brave vulnerability, with courage to lean in to what scares you, to admit what your intuition is telling you, and to break free from that obsessive anxiety that takes so much of our life force. When you do that, you brighten for yourself, you brighten in the universe, and it makes other people receive a permission that maybe they could grow a little bit too. Healing is exponential. There is a butterfly effect, and all of you listening are a part of that. I send you a hug. I send you light and love. Thank you for 3 years of amazing love and light. I'm an emotional badass. You're an emotional badass. And together, we are where Moxie meets mindful. I'll see you next time as we start year 4. Light and love. Bye-bye.